Welcome back, Justice and Outlaws now in the server. Well, I'm sure it's supposed to be by Hex. I haven't done that in a little while, Hex, but we're in it now. We're in it to win it. Washington, a little bit of a revamped team. Last time they faced Outlaws, and Outlaws they've been looking okay, which is really good. Now I'm quite excited to cast Outlaws today for the one reason. That's Dante, Sombra, Tracer, some of his best heroes, and we've been seeing a lot more of those recently. So I actually have high hopes for Outlaws coming into this series.
Yeah, I definitely would too. I mean, we're showing you a little bit of what happens in, the Washington versus Houston came all the way back to week 2, so a little bit of different faces happening there at that homestand way back when.
Oh yeah, that was a long time ago now I think about it. And now I look at the rosters too. And Mr. Elivo, of course, was in on the Justice, and Corey and Stratus too on the DPS. That was a long while ago. Metas change and new hero pools as well. So yeah, that's why I really think they can benefit from this kind of meta. Justice with the Stitch Tuber, of course, in the DPS, now going up against Blase and Dante. Also, I want to point out something real fast. Of course, we have the Genji, but can we please have Blase on Doomfist? Just a little bit. Just a little bit, please. That would be fantastic. And then Tuber versus Blase Genji. Doomfist, sorry. If they make a pact not to play Sombra.
Yeah,
Doomfist
maybe.
Kind of sucks against Sombra.
I mean, the Washington starters have been up and down. It just seems like they've never all had a good game at once, where like Tuba will have a good game, and then maybe Roar doesn't have such a good game. Aim God will go off, and maybe no one else does. So I think if they can just finally all have an above-average game together, they can start putting together some wins. Because you look at this team, and like some of these guys were considered god-tier players at their position. It's just a matter of putting it together for this Washington team, this revamped Washington team. It's past the honeymoon phase where we're giving them buys of like, oh, well, they have to, they have to gel together. They have a new roster. It's too late for that. And Houston it's a solid team, but it's not an unbeatable team by any stretch of the imagination. Washington, if they don't even win a map here, I have very strong concerns about this team.
Yeah, we're not seeing links today for Outlaws, seeing Dante and Blase, and for DPS, and then Hydration, now just playing tank always, with Meko, and then Repel and Jexe, of course, on the supports.
Yeah, Hydration had always come in to be the Orisa specialist for this team. Uma has been riding the bench for quite a while now, but has also played several other heroes. So his Reinhardt was okay at certain points in time. His Winston leaves a little something to be desired. I hope to see a little bit of ball here. I think Hydration could definitely be playing the ball, but when you think about Houston, no matter what the meta is, you think about, well, it's Dante and the boys, and Dante on the Sombra is absolutely ridiculous. That's where Houston started to find wins last season. Maybe if Sombra stays in the meta right now, that Houston can, just get some more wins off the back of Dante.
Yeah, nice hack limb right there. Not the highest in overall, but still pretty good. 35%. One person hacked, one person killed. Feels pretty good. Second for enemies hacked also, just enabling his team. Of course, hack being a rather pesky ability to actually kind of deal with. You need a cleanse, like a Zarya bubble, to stop them from almost instantly going down, or just like looking at the Sombra, of course, and then spraying them to make sure the hack doesn't actually go off. But Dante was able to subvert most of that and get a lot of hacks, and then it leading into kills, especially in this kind of meta where you can have these other hit scans, or the Genji, of course, being able to dive on a hack target is also important. Busan is going to be the control map for this, and King's Row, Anubis, Gibraltar, and then Helios if we really need it.
Yeah, I mean, just to come off the Sombra thing, like, having the second most hacks is enormous. It just gives your teams opportunities, and it's not always your fault if they can't get that kill, but to be second in the league and just straight up hacks is giant, because anyone could be an EMP bot. But Busan, we'll see what we end up there. King's Row, not really thought of as a Sombra map. Anubis, definitely, because, well, it's an assault map, so Sombra's always good on it. And we'll see what happens after that, should we need any more maps. Let's kick it off here on Busan. I would imagine just a Dante Tracer here. Maybe Tracer Genji, Tracer Doomfist. I don't know, but if Houston wants to run Ball, I would like to see them run Sombra Ball as well. I think that can work really well.
All cheering Boston up in the chat. Very good.
Aim God, former Boston, of course.
Yep. That's why Blase was asking him, please say it. Aim God very polite today. Very good. That's what I like to see.
Okay, so right now it does look like Hydrations can play Hammond.
I do like the fact that we're seeing a lot more ball, and then with the Zarya too. I spoke a little bit about it with Avast actually, about the metas from the APAC region. being shown in the NA region a lot more often now. We saw the Zarya with the dive tank, or dive-centric tank, a little bit sooner than we saw it in NA. It's cool to kind of see it now in this region too. It's a very fun kind of composition to watch as well, because anything dive-related is normally pretty fun. Janu, though, not on the dive. He's actually on the Sigma instead. Dante's on the Sombra too. No, sorry, not the Sombra, the Tracer, not Sombra, which is kind of confusing. I would hope he would actually jump over to the Sombra at some point, because there's a lot of avenues for you to kind of get a lot of free ult charge here, and it can be rather annoying to kind of deal with the Sombra as well. Not as many health packs to hack, but it can still be quite frustrating. Nice little trade there. Hydration actually picks up 2, so it makes it even. 2 for 2. Stitch and Raw are going to be able to come back from Storm a little bit quicker. 1v1 from Blase and Tuba. Oh, he just finished off with just a plain shurikens after the deflect went down, but Justice do end up capping regardless.
Yeah, they will hold the point. It's just as Sigma and Zen over here on the point right now, though, so they have to be a little bit weary, although Sigma's got great survivability and is able to deflect Dante immediately.
Yeah, Blase and Dante were behind him at that point as well, so there was no way he was going to survive. Aim God in a little bit of trouble. Hydration's just rolling on through. They still control the point, although Justice, they are kind of falling over right now, getting folded like a piece of paper. And that'll be Outlaws finding the recap with a lot of ults to spare actually too. Blase is going to have this Blade coming into the next fight, plus the Pulse Bomb as well. A lot of explosives mines being available too.
Yeah, mines are so good to just shut down a point. It seems like they last infinity amount of time unless you're able to actually clean them up there. So, an interesting first little fight. I love this tech right here. Like, they can't even really see him that much.
Oh, that is pretty good, actually. I didn't know you could do that. That's learn something new every day. Wow. That is pretty cool. Now, yeah, he's going to swing on in where the drum is. He's just playing on the counter dive right now. Transcendence is going to get used by Aim God, but look at that damage. Stitch gets instantly destroyed. Transcendence going to fade away, and Blase says it's my time to shine. Pulls out the blade, killing off Aim God, and everybody getting booped off the map. You've got to be a little bit more careful there. Arc and Meko take a sit down as they get booped off the map by Raw, but Outlaws still being able to clean up with the Dragon Blade.
No, but you're right. It was a perfect counter dive. He sees that the Winston's going to go in, and he sees that everyone's in a little bit of trouble, and he's going to take up his spot up here. Ah, never mind. And able to drop the minefield, gets Stitch right away. It forces out the Transcendence because you have to clear out the mines. Transcendence is fine. You can just bop yourself around like a pinball and end up clearing up those mines. But once the Transcendence fades, that means that Blade is going to have free reign. Blase in there to clean it up. Rally to open for Washington.
They've got to be wary right now, or at least Outlaws do. Tuba does have Blade. Transcendence could be there to match, or even Meko using the Graviton Surge. Tuba needed some of that armor, I feel like. A Pulse Bomb onto Raw, he was fairly low, so he gets instantly destroyed. Flux up in the skies. No combo with Tuba. Losing people left, right, and center. They do end up trading. Repel going down does mean Tuba pulls the Blade, but hey, guess what happens? You get instantly grabbed, and then the Might is going to finish off Stitch once again. Outlaws now at 97%. They're going to be able to maybe touch for OT or the Justice, but it's going to be up to Stitch or Raw getting back to the point in time, but Raw's already taken out by Dante. Dante's Tracer looking so good coming into the series already, and that will be Shrine taken by the Outlaws.
Yeah, I mean, Dante's Tracer, we all know what it can do, and we expect that out of him, but some players who were, you know, somewhat maligned as far as the Houston Outlaws go, and Blase, Hydration a little bit less so, but Hydration showing he can show big on that. Both get 5 final blows apiece, so Blase's Genji looked pretty nice there, and it was really just the beginning of the year when he was on McCree, and it didn't really suit his style, and no one on Houston was playing well, but for whatever reason, when a team's not playing well, everyone likes to find one player to blame it all on, and that happened to be Blase. So I'm always good for the redemption arc here. The long-range shurikens, I mean, those are so satisfying to hit like that, especially an opposing Genji. He was super patient in that kill, too. He waited out the deflect, found the angle, double jumped, got a long-range kill. So a nice early showing from Blase as the meta seems to suit him now.
Feels pretty good. Not quite mirror comps now. Justice are running out with Aim God on the Zen arc on the Brig, but it's actually a change with the supports of the Outlaws. The more dive-orientated supports. Blase is going to have to get down to low ground to actually get healed, though. Raw is going to just chase him all the way down. Jax and Repel weren't close by, or at least I'm not entirely sure where they were, potentially in this corridor, and Raw just, yeah, destroying the backline of the Outlaws. The Outlaws kind of traded places with them at that point, and yeah, they all ended up dying in that small corridor. Trying to dive Aim God was the key there, but they managed to kill him in the end, but it was Arc that actually kept him alive for so long and enabled Raw in the backline too, just distracting everybody.
Well, I mean, you hit the nail on the head with has to dive to low ground to get healing. I mean, that's why these healers for the Houston Outlaws seem somewhat antithetical to playing a supreme dive. It's almost like playing a defensive dive. You wait for them, but Blase, with no armor packs being launched up from Brigida, and no healing orb, which the Washington Justice have in their support line, in a little bit of trouble when it comes down to it, and just trying to find the healers and track them down. But speaking of tracking down healers, Dante sticks Aim God.
Yeah, that's a very good start, and the Coalescence as well to just kind of turn the tides. If the tides weren't already turned, they're definitely flowing green. Outlaws are just going to mow them all down on the point. That's going to be it. I mean, one pulse bomb onto a support. Yeah, the fight's pretty much done after that.
Get into position.
That was a nice play. And Houston's going to have just Blade for the next fight and beats, but it's just a matter of where can Blase get in and find a good angle onto this team, because he's not going to have the comfort of Healing Orb. In fact, he's discorded right now. Let's see if Washington wants to go with the aggro, use a support ultimate with the Blade kind of combination. Oh. Blase deleted.
That's that Discord ult damage and Raw. Couldn't stop it on his head. There's a Graviton Surge online almost for Meko here. Dante could try and turn the fight with this Pulse Bomb, because they killed Janu in the end. I mean, this is still a very good spot. There's the stick again. Engod forced to actually use the Transcendence in that situation. A return beat for the Outlaws to keep them in the fight as Blase nears the Blade too. And now, Engod's basically all alone. Luckily, he's receiving this rally armor, but still getting chunked down. He finishes the 1v1 against Dante with the help of Arc. And eventually, Blase gets knocked off the map too. That was almost a perfect re-engage from Outlaws. Using the beat after the Transcendence to push everybody forwards. It was all on Arc though. Those bits of rally armor just doing so much to keep everybody alive.
Well, it's 3 ultimates traded for 2, though. The Pulse Bomb comes in, forces out the Transcendence, and Rally gets stacked right on top of it. Jaxay was trying to bring his team back into the beat, but that means Houston used 2, and their Primal was also committed from Roar there. So it does put Houston in the advantage when it comes to the ultimate economy.
God, look at this 3-man Wrecking Crew in the back line. Graviton Surge eat by Janu, but will it actually matter? I'm not sure it will, as Aim God and Tuba already fall. Hydration, Dante, and Blase were sitting on top of Arc and Aim God. That's to start off that engagement. Blase used the Blade, killed one, and I just need to clear everybody from Justice off the point. They're going to be able to do that rather easily. Nice little boop there from Hydration. He teed that one up like a round of golf. Arc is going to fall, Janu as well, and that'll be Outlaws cap of the point.
Oh, jeez.
See, look how much damage that does.
Nice,
you
man.
actually can't do anything, by the way. When you are Zen or like a mobile support up in the air, the Tracer and just like an additional bit of damage from the Wrecking Ball, the guns, you're dead. There is almost nothing you can do, apart from maybe a Diva, of course, using that defense matrix on you.
Stitch maybe just going to pressure the point here?
I'm on the objective.
I mean, ideally, Dante just wants to go the same again. He knows Stitch is pressuring the point, right? And Janu's going to be there too with Raw. They're just going to have a 3-man Wrecking Squad again in the back line. Dante did throw out Pulse Bomb there. I was keeping track of his ult and didn't end up finding anybody. But again, look, you can see the dive in the back left corner. Hydration puts out the mine, so now they can only really move one way onto the point. A perfect way to set up. Perfect. It's actually textbook.
So
Hydration's going to use, like, the mine kill goes onto Tuba 2. They force everybody down to the low ground. Hydration knocks one off. Coalescence to keep everybody alive in the point as well. Meko was so low, it was close to getting demegged, and now Blase pulls the Blade. An easy kill onto Janu as well, as Hydration pushes another one off the map, and Outlaws are going to roll through the Justice. Downtown is theirs, and the map.
It's just such a beautiful play from Hydration to shut the door with the mines and then throw them out the window. The entirety of the Washington Justice squad defenestrated easily off the edge. Hydration, I mean, we kind of expected this. Like, I think they're going to play a lot of ball, and he showed some nice tech, really good dives, and it's nice because Houston's not always the most aggressive team, but with Hydration playing as aggressive as he is, it kind of cues to the rest of the team, like, just go in and just follow ball, and we'll figure it out. Looked nice. Looked really nice.
Really clean. You can see why he's been in for tank, right? I mean, his tank play has just been looking so solid. And I think I wasn't alone in questioning the Hydration tank when it first initially came in, but it's looking so good. And especially being able to pick up ball to this level 2 that he's performing right now, yeah, pretty good. Keep Hydration in. Keep him on Wrecking Ball, actually. The Wrecking Ball play has been spectacular, especially against a team, or with a team, sorry, that has Dante on it that can also sit on the back line. And I said the 3-man Wrecking Squad. Wrecking Ball, Tracer, Genji. Straight on to Aim God. No matter how many cookies that you're going to get thrown by Arc, those little repair packs, it doesn't matter. You will die very quickly if you're the Zen. We're going to jump to a quick break, though, guys. Do not go anywhere. We've got map number 2 coming up soon.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. Switch today and rank up to America's largest 5G network, T-Mobile.
And by State Farm. For auto, home, or renters insurance. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. The Overwatch League is brought to you by HyperX. Unleash your style, unleash your fury, with HyperX Fury Memory. And by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Outlaws taking map number 1, pretty quick and pretty clean. 2-0 on Busan as we head into Kings Row.
At Kings Row, we are going to have a substitution for the Houston Outlaws. Linkser is going to come in, which makes a lot of sense when you think about Kings Row. It's a very, very good Ashe map. I've seen a lot of Ashe played, and that's been in Linkser's wheelhouse. So I would imagine that's going to happen for them. And Dante, of course, is going to stay in. I just don't see a world in which you're Houston and you can justify taking Dante out of the lineup.
No, there's absolutely no way. Not especially as he's playing like this. And I love the Tracer, and I love the Sombra from Dante. I think definitely the strongest part of the Outlaws currently. Washington Justice, though, oh man, I want to be positive, but there's not much right now that really leads me to be. I want Stitch and Tuba to do well. I think they have fantastic talent individually, but it's just not meshing together well. It feels like Arc and Aim-God just trying to keep each other alive, and it's sometimes a lot on the DPS the other team that are just kind of popping off, and sometimes that can't be helped. So,
I mean, Johnny was an MVP candidate at one point on the Vancouver Titans, and so like individually we know they're all good players, but it's like a team is more than just the sum of its parts, and so far it just doesn't feel like Washington has the greatest teamwork and coordination. Like, I was just looking at that last match, and I'm like, I can't even say like who had a good map for Washington here. It just seemed like nobody really got anything specific done, but we are going to be headed over to, well, I mean, I guess it's your home map. Do you consider Kings Row your home map?
True. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sure, why not? I love Kings Row. I think everybody loves Kings Row. There's not a moment that goes by when someone doesn't say they love Kings Row.
I was just going to be like, well, I don't really have a home map, and I completely forgot Hollywood existed. So yeah, considering I can like pretty much see the sign from where I live, that would be my home map.
Wait, can you actually?
No, I'd have to go around the corner. No, I don't live in that.
Yeah, that's to go around the corner.
Like, do you know how much the Hollywood Hills are? Like, jeez, I can barely afford North Hollywood. Anyway, Houston Outlaws, Washington Injustice as we get back on track here, and I want to see what Washington ends up rolling out with here, but I think if you're Houston, you don't really change a whole lot. The Dante Genji is an interesting thing too, because he's very, very capable of playing that. But it is mostly that Linkser is their best long-range hit scan by a pretty good measure.
Yeah, the setup here with Hydration on the ball is fairly interesting too. I'd honestly expected them to go the Sigma and the Rhine, but ball also kind of makes sense. You're kind of baiting them in and waiting them to come onto the point, and then you can just slam them and then set Linkser up for success. And then Dante can kind of brawl out on his own. The only healing he's really going to actually get, though, if he's actually brawling out on the high ground is Jexay, so he has to be a little bit more careful of that, because sometimes the right clicks from Batiste, they're fairly hard to land if they're above you elevation-wise, or you know, slightly on the same level as well.
I've seen Violet hit 6 in a row once, so
well,
it's possible.
He's good. He's a good player, you know. So double shield here for Justice, not double shield, sorry, with a double shield. Every tank is a shield. I don't know, not every tank. Oh my god, I'm going to stop talking.
We'll slow it down.
Anyway,
okay.
Main tanks have shields. There you go. Raw shield, Janu shield. It's not double shield, it's actually Winston with Sigma, which is what I was trying to say. It's okay. I'm lost in the
Pretty
source.
split up
and,
here.
So is Raw. Raw is very lost in the source right now. Whoopsie-daisy. Linkser clicks on Tuber as well. Nice kill onto Jexa though. Let's see if it actually results in anything. I don't think it will, because people are dying here so late for the Justice, but Linkser and Dante are dead now. Stitch and Aim God taking the game into their own hands.
Well, there has been some nice progress too. I mean, this fight has not been for nothing. They're taking progress on the point.
2 ticks. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, this is the benefit of this comp as well. You can have the monkey on the point, and he can jump up to help the rest of the team if necessary, or you could even just put Janu there. Janu's definitely better off sitting on the high ground, though, throwing rocks at people. Stick on the back for Stitch. Linkser goes down. Immortality Field has been used as well by the Outlaws already, so they're going to have to be a little bit more careful of this backline push, although they don't need to be anymore. They're definitely going to go for this reset as Justice end up capping point A.
Yeah, it hurts a little bit because it seemed like they were committing. They ended up losing one, but even with the shield up, you'd think you'd throw somebody onto the points. Probably not going to get any stagger kills here because it's just a Genji, and there's a Brigitte hanging out with 2 other people up there, so you just back up here. But Houston does not have the ability to be able to hold Archway. Linkser, in the meantime, has gone over to the McCree, one of his very good heroes, very likely just for the flashbang utility against Stitch and Tuba.
Oh, that was close. Lucky the rest of his team. Yeah, he called for help in that situation. They knew Linkser was going to be there to flashbang Stitch if needed.
That's a lot of free push in the streets, though.
He's going to get Flux too. He's going to have the bubble, so no damage. Jexay will fall, though, as the Transcendent forward for Justice. Raw gets flashbanged, but he's going to be okay, and Linkser gets pushed out of Immortality Field as well. Very good push for the Justice, as Aim God is on the flank. I mean, why not? The rest of your team is distracting them on the right-hand side. Go on the flank, click some heads, and that's exactly what he did.
Well, they were able to get out after first point with 3 people, and probably should have been able to reset, but Dante gets stuck into the undergrounds, and the rest of his team has to rotate down, and that means that Houston's never in a good position to hold one of these corners. They also don't have a shield tank to be able to hold corners, so streets is going to be very difficult for them to deal with and try to just get in, and Washington took super advantage of it. Yet again, Hydration down.
It's why I'm surprised they're still playing Hydration on the ball. I mean, potentially switch him over to something else at this point. Although Ball can knock people off into the pit right now.
Ryan is what he's played before with mixed success. I don't know if you want to try to pop him on a Sigma, which just seems like a really hard tank to get a good handle on.
Oh, nice kill on Raw. Raw is so far up as well. Like, he was in the back line. There's the High Noon. Oh, looking for the Tracer. Tracer does get the recall off. The bash as well. So Stitch, he got delivered to Linkser on a golden platter as Jexay whip-shotted him into LOS.
Well, I mean, he could stay there and die to the Brigitte, and I think it's a little less shameful to die to McCree, so, you know, you pick your poison. At least in death, you get a choice.
Oh, man, that was... I mean, it's like, yeah, I'm going to go for reset, guys. I'm just going to go into Deadeye. It doesn't give them ult charge, so we're good.
Well, it's a stabilization fight, at least for Houston. Now they're able to hold this corner just a little bit, and yeah, Hydration is doing a ton of damage, but the rest of his team's not there to capitalize.
Ooh, that is a pretty okay Flux. I thought it got more there. Actually hit Hydration and killed him. Bearing in mind, I thought more people went down there as well as they scurried for the box. Tuba's going to be able to kill Dante as well and still hold on to this play. They might just be able to cap without ults, and they cap. 3 minutes and 36 seconds, and they had ults to spare. Look, Transcendence, Rally, Primal Rage, they had Pulse Bomb coming up, and Blade, and Justice cap. That was a steamroll. This is not what I expected coming into King's Row.
It's just compositionally, it feels very difficult to hold a hard point on King's Row. And you would just like to have a shield up, a Sigma, a Reinhardt, anything just to be able to hold a point, because really, Linkser just wants to sit behind and shoot stuff. But the way their composition is it's kind of, you want to be running dive defense a little bit or catch these dives with Hydration, and they were never really in great position to do that. Hydration led his team in deaths at 4, so he was maybe trying to go in a little too far. But the way the defense is supposed to work is you're kind of supposed to play offense on that defense or wait for them to dive, and Houston was all out of sorts, and to give up second phase of really any hybrid map for essentially nothing is terrible, because its second phase there's several places as defense can hold, and you have defender's advantage, and sometimes you can spawn a little better. But just letting a team roll all the way through King's Row streets is never going to be good.
Well, if there's any map you can complete quickly, it's King's Row. If there's any map you can hold, point A, King's Row. If there's any map you can hold, point B, King's Row. This is the excuses I tell myself when I'm playing ranked.
It's a great map. Like, it's real. It's never on anyone's list of maps I hate. And if it is, you're wrong. You're just straight wrong.
True. There's tier lists online with King's Row not in S tier, and it saddens me. It really does. It saddens me. How is it not an S tier map? I don't know. Hydration swinging around the statue is going to let it back, right? And this is where I think the comp actually performs pretty well on the offense, because Hydration can get top side like super quickly. Roar again, just playing so aggro. Oh, Linkser. Oh, no, don't you deflect. That was close. I think Stitch didn't really know where he was there, and ended up taking a shot to the body. Hydration's going to go in yet again, swing around, and he just basically wants to keep doing this and opening up and forcing Justice to actually use cooldowns. You saw the eat coming through from Janu, and it's like, okay, now the rest of the team can just pile damage into him. This is exactly what Hydration's job is. Not to kill people, but to force out cooldowns so they can get an easier engagement on the left-hand side.
Yeah,
they're going to be able to touch this in time, Hex. And Raw, though, going down again. Immortality Field used to keep Hydration alive. That window didn't do all too much, but resulting in a couple of kills and actually zoning away Justice is good enough. Transcendence with the Blade. Tuba hasn't got a dash. He needs to find a kill, or he can't get back into the back line. Jexay going down, but Engod's going to fall as well. They went wholeheartedly into that fight, like 3-man dove with Arc and Aim God and the Transcendence, and Tuba was the only one that survived. He got a kill and got out. The rest of his supports were left high and dry, and they end up losing this first point.
It's one of the reasons why you should always have your boots queued up as a Baptiste, because you saw that Repel was going to be the target there, the lamp went down, and then Repel just went skyward, and Tuba was unable to track him because the Exo boots launch him skyward. He lands on the statue out of damage sites, and that means that that's not a kill, that's not a dash reset, and you minimize the damage of the Blade. Outlaws in a very solid spot here, because they're going to have Rally, Hydration can drop mines, Bob's in it, like they're pretty much up ahead on most of these ultimates. As long as they can dodge Flux. Flux has been good for Washington.
There's the Blade for Dante. Perfect combo as well, with people getting bashed up into the air too. Goes down. Stitch to follow. Stitch, by the way, was in the background. He was in the back line of the Outlaws, but was managed to, reveal himself just for a smidgen. And Linkser clicked on his head. Now Outlaws pushing on to the second point. I mean, this is what you really wanted from Stitch, ideally, was just to get into the back line like he's been doing with the Pulse Bomb, but if you do that once, yeah, fair play, you get away with it. Twice, it's looking a little bit more risky, and then third time, nah, it's not a charm, it's your demise. Outlaws still pushing on to the third point with 2 meters to go. They managed to get the Bob out onto the point 2. Raw going extraordinarily low, dies with Primal Rage, as Bob also clears up Stitch. And Outlaws almost get the complete team wipe, only Tuba left. They should be able to get it here. And now with 5 minutes on the board, going into the third point.
I mean, a lot of these times Roar's going in, but his backline is getting harassed so hard by Hydration that they don't have the chance to throw him orbs, throw him packs to make sure he's ready to go in at the same time. I mean, Roar has 6 deaths right now, and it has been the first death a lot of these times, so I don't want to put it all on Roar because he's got to get the heals, it's got to be coordination from the rest of his team, but it can't keep happening, and it's kind of been a theme for the Washington Justice the last 3 or 4 weeks.
Oh, Meko, that was sad. That hurts. You have to use your shift to stop that from happening, but unfortunate. Oh, Repel! Raw's like, do you want to go back to your spot? Oh, Raw might die now, actually. No, he is good. Bubble. Oh, 90 HP. He's fine. I look really funny, though. It was like, Repel, do you want to go back to your spawn? Then holds him above spawn door with Primal Rage. Okay, Hydration. He's got the mines. Look for the grapple spot. He's actually trying to dislodge Stitch. I don't think they know he has Pulse Bomb, or doesn't have Pulse Bomb in this situation, but they don't want to risk it. 2%ing up for the Blade. They end up rallying in. Perfect time for him to go in. He gets grabbed, though. Doesn't matter, because Meko already falls. Hydration as well. Lets loose on the mines. But everybody's stacked up high with armor, so the only person that's going to instantly die is Stitch, and he did go down. And also Aim God in Transcendence can just jump and basically bunny hop from mine to mine, destroying them too. So those mines a little bit haphazardly placed in that fight.
Yeah, a ton of ults used there. I mean, on the initial defensive grab, it feels like it's the right call, but then there's just so much follow-up from the rest of the team. And the defensive grab, they try to mine it, but then they burn out both of the support ults from Washington. Flux comes again. They really want to deal with Hydration here.
Yeah, they really do, but he just hits the shield, and he's good. It soaked up a Pulse Bomb as well. Immortality Field was burned, but it shouldn't mean a whole lot, I can't imagine. Window. And Raw's dead again, unfortunately. Raw's just playing a little bit too aggressive here, it feels. The team needs to obviously follow up, but it's a little bit hard when Stitch is kind of in the background and Janu needs to be able to protect Arc and Aim God as well. I think Raw's playing a little bit too aggro, especially when you have Meko too, who can use bubbles on the people that are getting jumped on. They also have Repel with the Immortality Field and Jexay with their armor packs as well.
Well, Roar doesn't have his own Zarya. I mean, that's why we've seen Winston be so successful, is because a lot of times he's paired with Zarya and gets that extra bubble, the burst damage in, and now you don't end up overstaying your welcome when that's the case.
Oh, you see Linksa just holding this angle against Tuba, and he gets the kill too, and a kill on Stitch. 2 shots, 2 kills for Linksa, both on the DPS. Perfect positioning from Finland's gift to Esports. And the Outlaws end up capping, and time bank, you know, not too shabby at all. Of course, new time bank rules do mean that they go, the lowest one does go down to 2 minutes, and then that difference is subtracted from the other time bank as well. So Justice have 57 seconds more. The Outlaws only having the 2 minutes, so they get their chance to attack yet again.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit it, though. I mean, Washington and many of their fans would tell you that Roar is a very aggressive tank, and there's good with that, and a lot of times there's been bad with that, where it just seems like there's too many deaths, and he's just not getting the resources. They don't have the resources to give him these shots, though.
Boom. 1, 2. Okay, that was way more than 2 shots, but this is the 1 shot. All through the chains, man! I'm 99% sure those chains don't have hitbox. In fact, I know they don't have hitbox. They do move when you walk into it, though. That's kind of disgusting. This is why they wanted to bring Linksa in, ideally. Especially on King's Row. The streets are so narrow, and a lot of these points and the choke points are so narrow. The Dynamite does so much work.
Yeah.
It just builds up Bob just so quickly.
Well, and also on that final point, if you can get the high grounds as Ash,
oh, yeah.
you're feeling pretty good. Even middle high ground's good, but if you can get that top left high ground, oof, that's where you want to be living.
That's where you want to exist for the rest of time. Ash on the high ground.
Yeah,
He's going to go up yet again.
There's worse fates.
True. Wait, stop playing, so I don't know how you can say that. Haha, it was so easy, but actually just kind of terrible. Stitch is in the background. Ooh, Linksa, he goes. Doesn't quite get him. Yeah, Raw's actually going to match him there, so he doesn't want Linksa just permanently pushing. Oh, the recall straight into the site. No, he drops down, luckily. He's good for the time being, but now Linksa, like you said, where do you want to be with Ash? On the high ground, and he has a permanent pocket in Jexay as well.
And now Hydration's going to try to knock some targets in the air for him. Nice disengage, though, from Washington. This one's all over the place. Roar's a force to die.
Look how they were playing as well. You saw one person go in, Hydration, to the hotel room to distract Janu and Arc. Roar jumps into the front line and kind of the back line of the Outlaws, and he gets instantly destroyed because he only has Zen Orb, if he has the Zen Orb as well. Hydration does end up going down, is punished by Arc, but Meko is still alive at extremely high charge with the window 2. Oh, it looked good, but everybody was so grouped up for that pulse bomb. A good stick onto Repel does end the fight.
You'd love to get out with your charge there, but Tuba is going to make short work of it. Dash resets come through. Little right clicks there to clean it all the way up. There was a nice opening window for the Houston Outlaws, but it gets slammed absolutely shut. And speaking of slamming shut, Flux is going to be up. Surge on the other side. Gravitic are both of them, and we'll see which one gets more value. The Justice are in a great spot. They've got both support ultimates here.
Okay, Hydration do the same old, trying to force cooldowns. Becco's already used both bubbles, mind you, so Immortality Field has to be burnt. Well, they're not much else. They're already at full HP, plus armor now, as Jexay did use a rally. Tuba's time to go in, though. He's got a little bit of armor himself. He finds Linkser, 2 slashes, 1 kill, gets the reset, wants to find the support in the air. He manages to get it. Repel, you can't escape me, even with those Exo boots. Transcendence, 2 for the Justice to force the Outlaws away. Mecco used that grab, didn't quite find anything, and hey, there you go, Justice. Well, they full hold on first point.
And they're not going to lose.
And now, they have 3 minutes to get 33%. Clear wing.
Yeah, I see a Tuba. Tuba with a really nice little carry performance there towards the end. When everything breaks down and it's chaos, Genji thrives in those situations. So, very nice play from Tuba. And I think, you know, we've said it before. We said it in the pregame. There's players on this Washington Justice team who all have good games, individually, sometimes. But you need 3 or 4 of them to start having their good game at the same time together to start beating teams like the Houston Outlaws. It's not like Houston Outlaws are world beaters. So, like, if you're Washington Justice and you want to try to get things back on track, and this is a team that you can definitely get healthy on, and, you know, like, you just have to start getting better as we reach towards the end of the year and final year tournaments and stuff. Like, it doesn't matter how you played all year. This isn't even really your record, Washington. This is not the squad that earned 3-15. They had a bunch of losses, this particular team, but you could always turn it around. There is hope springs eternal for the Washington Justice when you've got the talent on this team that they have.
That's exactly what we said in the pregame, right? They've got the name value. They're just putting it to work, and there you go. Full hold on King's Row. Looking pretty good so far. 3 minutes basically on the clock for the Justice. So just going to CP everybody forward. And now they just need to basically wait for 6 ults. You everybody hit Q and you win. You just need to be able to force Outlaws into a position where they need to use ults fairly early. More specifically, Jexay with the rally. If you get that out and you have rally advantage, it becomes increasingly more difficult for Outlaws to win.
Also, if you remember in their very first push, Washington, they were getting ticks for free because Houston's playing a composition which really wants them to be sitting on the high ground a lot of the time. So yeah, they're just going to put pressure on the point, and Houston can't just sit on the high ground this time.
Yeah, in fact, Linkser was the one touching there. You have to be careful. Janu in a little bit of trouble now. Hydration's going to be able to kind of roll in, roll out, but ever so slowly they are capping this point, and now someone from Outlaws has to be on the point permanently. Hydration, I think, was one of them, but AimGod was able to take him out. This should just be it. With Dante going down as well, they stand little to no chance unless Linkser just collapse, but it's not going to happen. AimGod does go down in the end, but Linkser couldn't quite touch, and one thing that Outlaws comp doesn't do well is just continually holding this point, and with 33% being the win condition for the Justice, they pressured it out, like you said, Hex, and they collect the W.
On their very first offense, they got 2 ticks for absolutely free, and Houston makes no adjustments around it, and then you have people on touching the point that really don't want to be down there. Linkser has to go to low ground and then use Coach Gun to get high up. That takes away time that he could be shooting at things, takes away his escape. So Washington Justice capitalize on that composition, and with the Sigma rolling in, they had the bodies there to be able to have the shield pressure. Sigma can kind of just hang out alone with all the great sustain he has and the defensive tools he has. So they just put him on the point, makes Houston out of position, capitalize it, and Washington Justice not getting swept by Houston, not going quietly into that dark night.
Yeah, no more 3 Overwatch. We're going to go to map number 3 after this small break.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Zip Chair Gaming, the official chair supplier of the Overwatch League. Welcome to the Game Break presented by Cheez-It Grooves. I am back again. Everyone is safe and sound. Thank you so much for everyone's concerns. But now let's talk about the game. We have some concerns there as well. Thank you so much. But I heard you guys did great, and so did my cutout. So now I have a cutout coming for my job. That's concerning, but that's okay. Guys, let's discuss Busan here. Reinforce, I want to start with you here. Coming into today, you did say that you want to see Hydration once again on that wrecking ball. Voila, here he is, playing that wrecking ball. How do you feel about his performance?
Yeah, it was pretty solid all around. I like what the Houston Outlaws brought to the table here, and they played a solid dive composition with that wrecking ball. Sped things up. Blase was on the Genji, they were coordinating their dives, and Hydration had a lot of impact in this game. Not only did they speed things up when he could dive and, you know, jump onto the backline of the Washington Justice, he also peeled with his mines several times as well and made it difficult for the Washington Justice to really execute their strategy overall. Not a big fan of Washington Justice playing the Sigma here with Janu because it's so slow and it gets overrun so quickly, and you can just kind of have the Houston Outlaws just play the game their way. They can coordinate their dives. There's nothing from the Washington Justice really preventing the Outlaws or making it difficult for them. So overall, a pretty clean map one, and I like what I saw from the Outlaws.
Now, we headed to Kings Row, Costa. Let's discuss the second half of Kings Row. Let's discuss the defense we saw from the Houston Outlaws, because I don't know. I don't think everyone was quite as sold of them continuing with their ball comp right there. Do you think that was a bad composition to play, or just a wrong way to play the composition?
I don't like. It's not that I don't like the ball. I don't like that they decide to switch up their Genji player. They go from Blase as their Genji player to Dante, and all of a sudden you have a synergistic matchup of your Genji, because every Genji player plays different. And then you put in a hit scan such as Linksa, and the issue that happens when you play this slow comp with Hydration on the ball is on offense, it's not that bad. You can slowly edge your way, you can take the space with the hit scan, and then it allows to work synergistically. But on defense, you saw they just can't occupy any space. They have to play safe for Linksa to protect him, and that just gives it all to the Washington Justice. Washington Justice won in 3 fights on their attack because of how defensive the Houston Outlaws had to play. And that's a really bad problem for them, because they weren't even using ults, they weren't getting any value out of the Wrecking Ball, they were struggling to get Dante any space, so it all kind of fell apart. It was a pretty close map in the end, because they both did capture 3 points at least. But I think for the Houston Outlaws, you got to go with what's working, which was map 1, when you have Blase on the Genji, you have Dante on the Tracer, and give the freedom for Hydration on the Wrecking Ball to really just do what he's doing.
Yeah, and he's doing a lot, honestly, if he is having the space to do so. And that's why he made it into our Crunch Time presented by Cheez-It Grooves. Reinforce, we took a look at some pretty neat tech once again.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool from Hydration on map 1, almost like the second fight within the game, where he's actually just rolling around on the rooftop, scouting for his team, seeing where their opponents are. Like, it's not super useful for fights, etc., but it gives him proper scouting, and then he comes in with the mines, and it makes things so hard for Washington Justice. They're forced to use trans, but still Stitch goes down. I think it's beautiful peel with this Wrecking Ball, and then they counter-engage with Blase's Blade. So it's a beautiful execution from the Houston Outlaws, and Hydration's Wrecking Ball has been paying dividends so far. I like the points that Costa hit as well. I don't like that you're playing hit scan into Janu's Sigma. If Janu's just going to play the Sigma, just overrun him. Just dive over Janu, because if he's going to stick to the Sigma, you can actually punish him for that. But I like what I saw from Hydration on the Wrecking Ball, and that's why he made it into crunch time this time around.
Absolutely. Now, Costa, since you just mentioned that you didn't really like that switcheroo they have with their Genji player, taking Blase out, putting Linksa in, guess what? Anubis is coming up next. Linksa is out. Blase is back
Classic
in.
Houston
How are we
Outlaws.
feeling about that?
This is like when we had it earlier in the season with the Repel Raucous debacle, and it feels like they're just overthinking it. I think they actually have a good lineup. They have a good composition and a good team to play this meta. I think if you just stick with this Blase and you get Dante on his Tracer carry, I think they can easily win this match. They don't need to overthink it. Just do it, play your game, and I think they'll be successful. I wouldn't be surprised if Houston completely blow out this map.
Well, it looks to me like they definitely came in prepped for specific players for specific maps. So let's see if that will work out in their favor. Currently, it is 1 apiece. So one of those teams will walk away victoriously. And without any further ado, we're actually heading into the second half of the game between the Washington Justice and the Houston Outlaws.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Cheez-It Grooves. Deep flavor, deep crunch. It's a mind crunch. Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Welcome back. Map 3 is Anubis, Outlaws, and the Washington Justice. Currently 1 apiece in the series, Hex. And we did have a small sub as well. Lynx has taken a back seat. We got Blase coming back in.
Yeah, for Anubis, it's a little bit interesting because you would imagine maybe running an Ashe can still work pretty well on Anubis, but Blase has been playing pretty well today. Maybe Genji Tracer, a full-on dive, because you imagine if Hydration staying in that he's going to be playing the Hamid. He's been playing really well on the Hamid. It's been really fun to watch. So you'd have to think that that's the case. Lynxer used to be known as a pretty solid Genji, but maybe the 3rd best Genji in this team right now, really only locked into that role as long-distance damage. So probably no Ashe from either of these teams. Well, I think we're going to see pretty close matchups between like Tracer and Genji. I think it's going to be Tracer Genji for both, but we shall see. I'm always ready to be surprised.
Yeah, I do wonder if Hydration is going to be staying on the Wrecking Ball. It is pretty good at like dislodging people, especially from the high ground if you're on the offense. But on the defense, you'll basically wait for them to then take the high ground and then slam them, or wait for the archways for them to come through there and then slam them. So I'm kind of curious what comp Outlaws are going to run. Of course, like I said, we are on Anubis, then we're going to Gibraltar, and then Elios.
Yeah, I mean, he could end up running the Winston. It's not been his best hero, but it's not the worst thing I've ever seen. I've seen some worse Winstons, mostly when I end up on Winston and Mystery Heroes. I'm like, yeah, I just did it. How do people even play this hero? This gun does nothing. What are you guys doing? I guess I've realized that landing stomps is really where your key damage is.
Yeah.
Cycling melees would be pretty helpful. Just tickling people with a Tesla doesn't get a whole lot done. But yeah, I just want to see him play ball until that Washington proves that they can really deal with it. There were a couple times where I think it was pretty nice that they saved the Brigida Bash for him, and that's when Hydration got in trouble. But for the most part on King's Row, he was dropping down on 5 people and rolling away with 1,000 HP. Yeah. Hydration is on the Winston. All right.
Yeah, so I'm curious why they
Torb.
play on King's Row.
Torb
the Blase Torb. Let's go. Okay. Let's go. Let's see where he's going to put turret. This is a Torb-only stream now. So we're only going to focus on Blase from now on. I'm not going to talk about anything else.
Fair enough.
I want to know who's going to put turret. I put my turret where Hydration is right now. That's all I'm saying. Just like on the lip of it to the right-hand side. It's pretty good. It doesn't get destroyed fairly fast if they kind of look at it, but flankers have a little bit of a harder time actually dealing with it.
There's that area, and then there's back stairs too. But he is going to throw it on your spot. Yeah, it's up there. Nice.
I mean, that's not the perfect play, okay? Like, you need a little bit more over to the right, but you're okay. You're okay. I'd give that an 8 out of 10. The Torb turret placement.
It's like when Jake used to grade Junkrat tires every time they came out.
I will judge Zen right clicks and Torb turret placement. Oh, but it's just going to die now because Tuba's shot. This is the problem with the turret placement. You see, there's nothing to protect it, but if people ignore it, it's hilarious because it does so much damage. Okay, they do take the high ground away from the Outlaws rather swiftly. In fact, the Outlaws just kind of gave it up almost instantly. They want to play at the back of the point now with the turret, and where the turret can get most of its effect, but it goes down again. And God with the snipe. Okay, Stitch dead though. That's not good. And controlling this other high ground is going to be fairly important too. Ideally, Dante wants to play up there, I can imagine, just so he can control Mega, and he can stop Stitch from dropping onto people. Roar's using the stairs to the best of his ability. He's going to have to back out shortly as well. Both those tanks are extraordinarily low. That was a very close call there from Janu. Did almost lose his mech. Roar managed to get to the Mega health pack as well, but now he's in a whole world of hurt yet again. Both tanks are almost isolating themselves, although they are pushing Dante a fair bit back here, Hex.
Yeah, Dante is still able to sit at full health, and now both those tanks have to rotate around. Houston has taken the back corner. Yeah, they're trying to just defend this turret, but so far the turret's gotten absolutely nothing done.
Oh, the window with the turret, it's unbelievable DPS. I'm not entirely sure how much, but it's not actually that much. But it's also not doing anything, really. I mean, it maybe gets the Molten Core for Blase, maybe, but Blase is already dead. Hydration's going to follow as well. That Transcendence was so good from AimGod there. Just surviving all of that damage. And, oh, Blase switches to Doomfist, which is good. Doomfist.
Well, the Torb
but
did.
they lose the Molten Core. No.
I mean, the Torb did nothing.
No,
Got absolutely nothing. Rally in,
listen
super
to
aggressive.
me.
I'm listening.
Grab
I'm listening and I'm also
Molten
watching.
But Doomfist is pretty good too. We're always going to jump to the background with the Primal Rage. This rally's going off. This should make sure Outlaws survive, but a beautiful stick onto Dante. Blase's also going to fall as well. No DPS now available, and they unleash the blade. Immortality Field is going to come out, and an eat from Janu as well. The second eat this series on a grab. He takes that one, and that's Outlaws with now nothing left. Blase, because he switched in that Molten Core, and he can't get back on the Doom, and this is Justice with an unbelievable steamroll. Meko jumps back on to the Wrecking Ball to get back to the point in time. A resurrection onto Blase 2, but I'm not sure they're going to be able to get onto the point. Stitch is camping this left-hand side. Another res onto Blase as Jexay switches off Mercy to go back to Mercy to find another res to get Blase up again, and Blase couldn't even get back to the point in time. What a locomotive they were driving. 4 minutes, 21 seconds in the time back now for the Justice. That was so fast.
Yeah, and if you forgot about the Janu Diva, then you best remember that it's definitely one of his best heroes. The eat is absolutely crucial, because even if you catch one or two in the Graviton Surge there, you're probably going to be able to hold on the defense, but Washington takes that momentum of the first on a second, and it's just running the Torb. If you get nothing done and the rest of the team has to play around it, it just puts your team in a very strange spot. They look like they were really dedicating the resources to it. And to the moon!
To the moon. Oh, he pulled Blade too. I didn't even clock that. Wow. In all the chaos, he pulls the Blade when he had the Pulse Bomb. He's kind of lucky in that instance that he was dashing away from his team, because if that Pulse Bomb hit everybody else, that would have been maybe another kill, and if not, it would have been a ton of damage. Yeah. That is so unlucky for Dante. It looked like he basically clicked Q at the same time, had the idea, but that's a little bit unfortunate. Unfortunate.
I mean, it's like the strategy just straight up didn't work for Houston. The turret died twice without getting any damage done, and then they put it in that back corner, which made them all play in the back corner. Roar just had a field day of getting all the cleave. Only a single death here for the Washington Justice, and that's Stitch. I think he got caught out by a Genji early on, very early in the first fight, but other than that, it's 16-1, Washington ahead in eliminations.
It was kind of disgusting too. Stitch was basically like Call of Duty corner camping the spawn as well, so the Outlaws couldn't do anything.
Yeah, they never got out that side. They resurrected Blase, and he had to go back to spawn, and they still got him.
I can't believe Jexay switched and then switched back to Mercy to get another res. It's kind of ridiculous. Worked out though, kind of, but he did end up going down again. 3 minutes, obviously, and a half to get onto this first point. I like the way Outlaws are actually taking this one. They're taking away the high ground and the Mega Pack as well, and allowing Dante to get the opposite high ground too. Normally fairly important, but they can forego that for a very aggressive dive into this room. Roar's going to almost pay for it with his life, but they actually managed to kill Hydration off before Roar ends up going down, and now they've got a whole lot less space to work with. They're relying on Meko here to create some of that space with these bubbles, and the amount of damage he's going to just unleash. Speaking of unleashing damage, that's a Coalescence in a very tight corridor. 2 kills for Repel. And they're going to repel the defense, away from the point. Which didn't really work.
3 kills. I mean, that fight was just going on for so long that eventually everyone is about half health, and all the resources are drained out of the Washington Justice. You only have so many armor packs, and if you're unable to swing through his arc, you're just not going to do the healing. Roar was perpetually under 100 HP, so Repel comes in, able to clean that up. Double damage ultimates here for the Houston Outlaws in a very small window. AIM got at 92%, but both of the Washington Justice support should get their ultimates, and now it's almost a one fight already.
Oh yeah, that Transcendence being used as well. Echo uses that personal bubble to survive this pulse bomb, but couldn't survive the extra damage that was coming through from Aim God. 5 minutes for the Outlaws, mind you. These scrappy fights are going to definitely benefit Justice, just because they're holding so far up. The Outlaws can't even get pressure onto the point. Even a self-destruct as well for Janu to make sure he can remech in time.
Yeah, new mech. Totally fine. I mean, it's mostly just because you just don't want to be in Pilot Diva form and then try to get back to spawn, and then even if you get back to spawn, you got to switch, so using the mech there was absolutely perfect.
Mecca has to be careful. He's already had two ults eaten so far this series. AimGod does end up falling. The rally's going to help them at least survive on the point for AimGod to come back. Another blade coming through from Tuba this time. He's on the back line on Mecco. He gets grabbed at the end, but he already has done the damage. I mean, he's killed 2, or he's assisted 1, then killed off Mecco. Hydration does find the kill, however, our AimGod's back now. Tuba's going to be back momentarily, so this is very much a reset for the Outlaws as Dante's also dead. Now, with a lesser time bank than the Justice, this feels like map number 2 all over again, where it was like, wow, that was a really, really impressive time from the Justice, and then Outlaws just do it under theirs, and then it just comes down to the final round.
Well, the Outlaws have to be
3 and 4.
A little bit more careful with some of these ultimate uses. Like, that grab really shouldn't be happening. That's like your win condition, and you know you have to ace these fights as the offense to get in there. And after all is said and done, Washington Justice is going to have a Transcendence up again. Ark's rally really saved them last time against the Blade, as Transcendence was used early, so Justice in a very solid spot here. Pulse! Happy birthday
wide.
to the ground. Yeah. Just a bit outside.
Right, Rosa, the only ultimate online for the time being, although AimGod's a couple of % away from his Transcendence, so we'll get that online just passively. Blase's nowhere near the spade. I wonder if they use it aggressively. Yeah, they do. Just to keep the tanks alive in the front line. That'll be an easy fight win. Blase and Repel are dead. Mecco bites the dust as well. And that will be, again, another stellar defense for the Justice right now. Outlaws having just a monumentally hard time cracking even, not even just onto the point, but just controlling these small pathways.
Yeah.
It feels impossible.
I actually really like that we've seen a trend of teams holding just a little bit outside of door, and that the moment they feel they can win a fight, they do. Because even if that's a fight you end up losing outside the door, it does mean that your spawns are going to get back just that much quicker, and it makes it that you almost have 2 fights on the defense, and that's you almost just can't even go in now.
Yeah, you don't. You back off to go again, try and farm some ult charge, and that is about it. I mean, they're looking for this big wombo combo, right? I wonder if they're going to save Blase's blade for the grab. Mecco's having a little bit more of a tough time building this one up. He's got Janu to kind of feed onto, but Janu's not playing that aggressively right now. He's looking for the back line more than just fighting the tanks. Nice, another stick from Stitch takes out Mecco again. The beat came through. The blade from Tuba isn't going to result in all too much, but with Mecco dead, Hydration's going to have to play more careful. Dante, Blase, literally everybody. 2 right clicks, 2 kills. Repel and Dante are going to go down, and again, the Justice DPS are just mowing down the Outlaws.
They're always on the chase, too. I really like it. Very well played, and now we're below 2 minutes now. What I like about Washington and how they're using their support ultimates too is because I think Washington has lost fights in the last couple of weeks where their support ultimate comes a second too late, and then someone dies because of it. The moment they feel that Houston's going to commit to an attack, they don't even wait for damage to come through. They just hit it right away. Arc rallies right away, and it just makes sure that Houston can't get anything done, that it's not going to be half a second too late. And now they've been kind of layering these really well because AimGod's got Transcendence now.
Skill onto 2 to start the fight out though. Justice have got a lot of things to rely on, however. They've still got that Transcendence to self-destruct 2 for the remake or an attempted kill, and even the Primal Rage, a lot of survivability tools. Stitch ends up falling, however.
Tuba's back,
we have to get back momentarily, but I mean, it's now just a bit of flowchart Overwatch. They've got self-destruct, they're using it for the remake. Mecco doesn't even get energy for that one. He hit the shift, but it wasn't in line of sight of the self-destruct. They have the combo with the blade, but with Jexay dead and Repel falling as well. Again, another reset for the Outlaws. They just cannot find space to make this fight work. And make these combos work as well, Hex.
It's going to have to be the Graviton Blade. It's your best option here. But AimGod sitting on that Transcendence. There's no Ana to do the anti-heal, which you would need for the Graviton Blade to work really well. Maybe if you can put enough damage, I mean, you can end up burning a few people down through a Transcendence if the focus is super, super there. But that's all Houston has. And that should buy them enough time at the very least for Jexay to get a rally up. But the X factor here is going to be John, who's already gotten one self-destruct eat so far. Or, excuse me, one Graviton eat so far.
Stitch is already dueling out Dante. He's going to be the main target for focusing out and forcing out this Transcendence, but they end up grabbing Tuber, and Repel actually just ends up dying. Outlaws are still man up, but they can get back to the point. Blase killing off Stitch 2. Rally for Jexay. Justice can still survive, however. They've got Rally coming up and the Transcendence for AimGod. Yeah, there you go. Right onto the point where everybody can now get back in time. They only need one pick, ideally, and it should just be good. The Rally's coming out, and Meko is dead. There's the pick I'm talking about. Dante, Jexay also end up going down. This is going to be it. The hold on the second point for the Justice. They got way too many people alive. And the Outlaws are going to lose this map as well. Justice now. Match point of the series.
Outlaws were never able to force a bad support ultimate out of the Washington Justice. Even at the very end there, that Transcendence comes out to make sure that Arc lives. Arc, who's at 94% on his rally, that comes out. They make sure Arc is healthy. A rotation comes from AimGod up to the top to keep the tanks healthy. Then Arc hits Rally. It just seemed like Houston Outlaws were always pushing into either Transcendence or Rally, and they never forced one out that didn't get value out of it. So the Justice support line looked strong there, and the Outlaws just they barely ever got to fight on the points. They just got their heads bashed in trying to get through doorway.
Well, they were trying to control those small chokes, but Washington Justice weren't letting them do that at all. And then Stitch was finding nice pulse bomb kills onto Meko, and that was clearly their focus, and they were able to kill him off every single push, it felt like, until the very end.
Yep.
Justice hold on Anubis on that second point, go match point of the series as well. We're going to jump to a quick break to see if they can finish it out here.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. Switch today and rank up to America's largest 5G network, T-Mobile.
Interesting.
Welcome back. Match point for Justice. And we're going on to Gibraltar, which is going to be the first time they're actually playing it this year as well. So haven't really got too many things to kind of pull from data-wise, but it's going to be the Outlaws trying to fight their way to a map number 5 Hex.
Yeah, and right now, if we're going to Gibraltar, it's very traditionally been a very dive-oriented map. And so, I mean, Roar and Janu, Winston, D.Va has looked pretty solid. Houston, of course, is going to make a substitution here. They're going to bring Linkser back in because it is Gibraltar. Very likely to see an Ashe on those lines, but I don't think the Justice are going to play Ashe or anything along those lines. I think we're going to see as pure a dive as possible, at least with the damage dealers and tanks, and then dive has evolved through several different support lines, but dive at its core, Winston, D.Va, Tracer, Genji.
Yeah, no Ana, sad to say, unless we see something truly off the wall. But currently one of the better supports in this current patch, and with the Zen, obviously, because it's Aim God. So I wouldn't be too shocked there. And this, I thought at the start of the series, I'm thinking, okay, so Justice just really haven't looked good, and we've seen a lot of bright spots for Houston, actually, and especially when they sub in Linkser, this hit scan wizard on the Ashe, it's looked really good. And then we saw Hydration play ball on King's Row, and it just not really work out at all. I'm like, okay, fine. They really want to stick with this ball comp, that's okay. They just go to next back, go to Anubis and play something like a Winston, and I'm like, wow, this is it. This is where they kind of turn it around and they end up 2-1 in the series. But no, it's just Justice being able to pick apart the tank line. They're not overly focusing the supports. It was very much Stitch just trying to hound down Meko, force out a bubble, stick him, and then not only can't the DPS play aggressive, but neither can Hydration. Even if he's on the monkey, he can't really dive in because he's just going to get bashed, he's going to get discorded, and he's going to go down really fast without the aid of the Xayah bubble.
And, I mean, when I was talking about Washington trying to gel as a team, I think Dive helps them a lot for that. And it's kind of this weird double-edged sword, because Dive does take a ton of coordination. However, everyone in this server has played Dive for like 2 years. So it's like you've already been taught how to play Dive, and it's not really changing all that often, all that much. And so when you get to play something that you've kind of came up playing, learned how to play, that it requires less strategy, less coaching, less ideas. Just like, oh, we know how to play Dive. Like, in our DNA, we know how to play Dive. We played it for years, and it really does seem to be playing to Washington Justice's strengths right now. Especially if they run this Mercy Dive, Arc on Mercy Dive, that's perfect. That's a kind of right in his wheelhouse.
The defense, not too shocking here, with Linkser obviously on the Ashe, and then you have Repel to stop these insta-kills onto the squishy targets with the Immortality Field. Arc's going to go back. Yeah, in my head I'm like, there's no way they do this. Maybe just to start us out with a throw a few shurikens with a damage boost and then try and find something from there. But no, this is the comp we expected them to play.
We've seen Mercy being played in Dive in the last couple of days. I don't know what happened there.
Okay, Hydrations is dead. All right. Well, Tuba's dead too. Lynx takes a headshot. I mean, takes Tuba's head off, even. But they're still going to be able to get a little bit of space here, especially without a main tank. That kill isn't going to result in it all too much. Stitch versus Dante. He's got the healers at his side.
Stitch.
Yeah, Stitch is very dead. Oh, the rock from the skies. Actual meteor strike from Meko as he catches Stitch on the retreat.
Technically a more effective meteor strike than usually the Doomfist ult.
Oh my god. I mean, this is actually now Lynx's wheelhouse too, right? He can sit all the way back. You kind of almost want the payload to go through the tunnel underneath, and then Lynx has a better sightline.
Yeah, and right now, Justice are just all over the place, and they're getting isolated rather easily. First it was Stitch, and then it was Roar, now it's Tuba. I mean, the thing about Dive is you kind of want at least 2 people in one place at once, and then now they're just running solo right now.
Oh dear. Lynx is just trying to chase down Stitch. He's going to get the mega health back. And he's going to just wait for the rest of his team.
Well, now Lynx has to be a little bit careful because you know that Stitch is probably going to try to take the high ground and just at least mess with Lynxer.
Yeah, Lynx is still looking for him. He's actually on the high ground on the top left of the second phase, so he's still looking for him. There you go. You can see him. Ooh! Double shot, last one being the headshot. Easy kill on Stitch. However, Repel does end up going down. Coach gun as Tuba dashes into Lynxer. Straight to the dome. The Coach gun does spit out pellets as well, so it's not to be underestimated, especially when you're fairly low HP. Does a fair bit of damage.
What else would a gun spit out?
I don't know.
Just movement? Just air?
Yeah, well, no. Well, like, obviously, it's not like an air gun. But what I'm okay.
I know what you're saying is that like a lot of people just use it as escapes, but it's actually still a gun. Gotcha.
Still technically a shotgun. Or a coach gun.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's where his name come from. Look at the ults. Wow. There's a lot of ults on the screen for Justice. And a lot of ults on the screen for Outlaws too. It's gonna be a little
Well, the
flow
Outlaws
chart
don't
here,
have
I
a
can
they
imagine.
don't have a defensive ult, so Tuba can run wild here.
Yeah, they're going to wait for Jexay. They got to. Just Jexay needs to heal. Repel, please don't heal. Jexay needs the ult. There's the engagement. Pulse bomb. Mitigated by the Immortality field. And the blade coming out from Tuba as well. Meko trapped in the corner.
Doesn't have a dash. Doesn't have a reset. Can't get up top.
It might just be okay, in fact. The armor's going to stack onto Dante as well, meaning he can pull the blade rather safely. A recall 2. No dash available for him either now. Lynx is also long gone as well. That window on the high ground was good for Repel. A nice little angle, but Raw pays him a small visit with a Primal Rage. Everybody kept alive during that early Transcendus as well from Aim God. Normally you'd think that you'd want to save him for the blade there, but just getting the initial kills was good enough for them to actually win that team fight. Lynx dies in forward spawn, sadly, but eventually Justice getting this payload moving. 3 minutes now onto the second point. You want to take as close up as you can to the enemy here, because otherwise it's one of the hardest points to actually cap.
Well, Reed coming in is always tough because you have this giant door that everyone can come in, but then once the defense gets a foothold on the top of the shuttle here, you have 4 options of 4 small doors, and they're all terrible.
Very tough. And you can almost instantly take it too with the Immortality field because you just don't want to fight people. The Immortality field as well was also in a bubble, so, you know, nothing can really be done there. Ouch. There's the melee onto Janu. It's Baby Devo, so not too surprised to see him go down. Justice are going to have to retreat. They need to take control of this high ground, but Dante also does end up trading his life for it, so that's not a good place for Outlaws to be. However, the defensive spawn's not too tragic.
Yeah, Stitch is just kind of still milling about. Should be pretty safe as long as he's got recall up, and Washington's able to take a really good position. The card has not stopped moving this whole time.
It actually just hasn't stopped moving at all. There's a couple of meters before it does end up landing in. There's a flux in the room. Immortality field got thrown out from the Outlaws, so they're able to survive all this damage in this small room. However, Meko finding 2, and they are now having to sit on the payload. Repel is still alive. They've kind of swapped positions. Blade for Tuba. Can't quite get the final dash. He eventually does. That was so close. He was 1 melee away from dying. Dante kills him with his blade as well, but Aim God was there to luckily click him. And the Primal Rage hydration was, what, maybe a pixel away from actually contesting that payload? Pretty damn disappointing if you're hydration there. You'd have thought you'd be on it. But they end up capping the second, and that was a lot of granted space there by the Outlaws, allowing Justice to move so far up.
Yeah, Roar wins the Primal Rage boxing match. Very much like the old arcade cabinet game, Primal Rage. Big throwback. Fighting monkeys. It was a great game. So right now, like, Lynxer is still going to be in the back here. He's still staying on this Ash. It's not the best point for it, but you can go, like, dead center back. And Washington's just going to get aggressive. Here comes a rally.
Yeah, super aggro now, now that Lynx is dead. It's just support after support. They're being very proactive in how they're playing. Aim God's going to have the Transcendence as well. Dante isn't even near the blade. He's got 50% away, and Justice are just steamrolling this point. And now they can hold the doors. The bomb's going to come out at least, and it's going to get bashed away, so it's not even going to be able to contest the payload. A couple of meters will do it. 0.01, in fact. Someone needs to leave it for a microsecond, and they are going to be good. Hydration is now spinning to win, but it's just all about the stall tactic. Dante 20% from a blade, but a Transcender's on the point, and there it is. 2 minutes in the time bank. A watch point Gibraltar. That's a solid time. That second point looked very defensible there for the Outlaws,
strange.
but
yeah,
they were holding so far back, Hex.
It was weird because they were on top of the shuttle and they'd want to fight, but then they were so hesitant to get off of the shuttle and really chase down the remainder of people in there. So, like, they never cleaned up the carts. And even when they were on the top of the shuttle, you saw them backing off of the top. They dropped a couple people to low ground, and they never really felt comfortable on it. And largely because Washington just kept people on the push. And once that cart gets underneath the shuttle, underneath the bridge, holding up top becomes much less ideal. So they had to drop down, and I mean, a nice blade towards the end as Tuba was able to come alive and get a couple of swipes, and then the Primal Rage duels it out between Roar and Hydration. Roar gets the last punch in, and they're able to swing it home with a couple people of the Outlaws still alive. Also, the Outlaws lost, I think, 3 to 4 people on respawns, because Gibraltar is, like, the most carnivorous map. It eats people alive in spawns.
Yeah, the only 2 doors. I feel like there should be a third behind the... You know, where the shuttle bit is, but
yeah.
maybe that'll be too many doors. I don't know.
Well, I mean, you die all the time on second point just for respawns, and on third point. Like, this map is the most egregious when it comes to respawns. There's so many times where you just have to toss yourself into the drink.
You do. Maybe 3 doors isn't enough. Ooh, okay. The TP. Oh well, they're all they're all dead. Oh, cute little telly as they all instantly die.
No, I was saying
cute.
what Tuba was thinking. Tuba was thinking, oh, that's cute.
Oh my god. Well, at least they all reset fast enough. There you go. No more sim. Now they can just hold the high ground for free Hex. I mean, that's a lot of a free ult charge do. Echo got almost nothing. Oh my word. Right. It's going to be up to Linksa here to get a good angle. And that's going to be hard to actually take away, you've got to imagine, especially against the Justice comp. People like Genji can get up there as well, but it's going to be up to Repel to keep him alive and well.
Yeah, Washington's giving up a lot of ground. They're going back to the blue box over here where the tanks are going to try to post up. But Linksa wants to be on one of these 2 shipping crates. Ideally, where Washington's holding right now would be where he would post up if he had his druthers.
Yeah, you can see Stitch paying attention to the back line and then trying to dip out, but it does use the recall. Tuba does end up dying, however. If Raw can find a kill, no, Raw just ends up dying. If Raw can find a kill there, maybe it's winnable, but it is looking rather unlikely at this point. Stitch also forced to use the recall, should be able to escape Dante for the time being.
Well, Washington's doing a good job of not coming in just yet. They're waiting back. There's no reason to go in right now. You want to go in at full force. They don't have anything to work with just yet. AimGod has done a lot of damage, though, so he's nearing Transcendence. Might have to use it aggressively.
Oh, rock over the top. Wow, Johnny was very low. Someone please save him. He's getting pound pocketed, I believe. Yeah, AimGod's going to instantly use the Transcendence. They're using these support ultimates so aggressively. I actually really like it, although now they're going to have to worry about Dante's Blade. The Pulse Bomb straight on top of the shield, but it actually just gets completely eaten up by the shield itself. Bob's going to come through as well. Stitch, Janu already dead. Should be the first point for Outlaws now, as they do clean up the rest.
And they've got great momentum here, too, so they can take a lot of forward position and take the top of the shuttle if they want. You need to escort Sigma up there because his only mobility is his ultimate, verticality-wise. Winston can just leap up there whenever he so pleases.
Yeah, now let's see the difference in positioning from the defense of Justice to see how far they do end up taking up. Of course, Outlaws are going to do the same thing Justice did in getting on the high ground. And they're also going to rally too to make Meko almost impossible to kill. Rally, Blade, 300 HP. Dante's trying to duck, dip, dive, and dodge out of this flux. He manages to get out of the way, but he's going to get bashed. Only a couple of swings did end up landing, but it was actually enough to find 2 kills in Stitch and Janu already. And all this meanwhile, Linksa has been pushing the payload too. So he's getting a lot of time and space just alone because he knows the rest of his team are up on the high ground using ults, and Justice had to respond with something.
That is one of the nice things, too, about running an Ashe here, even when your team's being super aggressive forward, is you can get the push on and still contribute to these team fights.
Well, they're trying to surround Linksa now. A short hop into the shuttle, but Linksa's not going down with that fight. Tuber and AimGod already fall too. Yeah, everybody split up. Brawl was really nowhere to be found. He was trying to kill Linksa to try and stop all this damage landing on the front line for free, but was completely unable to. 4 minutes plus in the timeout now for this third point. This is both teams on all maps, it feels like right now. The defense is a little bit lacking.
That's kind.
Yeah, I mean, it's just funny how both teams are now are rolling through every single point we've had on King's Row and on this map now.
Yeah, I mean, Dive is definitely thought of as a more offensive kind of oriented style, and Houston's not running pure dive, but it's somewhat close-ish. That you want to be super aggressive and back up the damage. We're just going to try to stabilize here. There hasn't been a kill for Washington in about 3 minutes.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't feel like it. Winner's going to get used. Oh, Raw got bashed in the doorway, so couldn't even leap out when that bashed it, and then that stun wore off. He was instantly dead. He was getting shot out through a window as well, mind you. And now onto this last point. Dante has the blade ready and waiting at the doors. You said it before, and it is true that these doors are rather punishing when it comes to actually spawn positions. And you can just basically swing at it. Stitch throwing out the pulse bomb, doesn't find too much, and this rally going off of Jexay as well. Meko finding the flux target, almost insta-killing the Winston there. He does manage to get out in time, but not for long as Hydration finished up the kill. Dragon Blade with the Transcendence. This is the stabilization that they need. Tuba does get bashed. He finds 1 kill, which could be important. It is Hydration, and spawn advantage. And with the rally armor as well, Justice are way harder to take down now. They only need 1 kill realistically, but Dante pulls the blade, finds 1, finds another one, and that will be the Justice force all the way back to spawn. Luckily, Stitch manages to find 2 of his own. in amongst all the chaos, and Raw is still alive. He stays alive and gets Primal Rage. This is going to be a very easy fight, but Stitch eventually taken down by Linkser in the back with a swift headshot. 3 minutes on the clock for the Outlaws to complete. Self-destruct high in the sky, and the Justice don't touch. The space created as well with the flux, with the self-destruct wasn't enough to actually get onto that point in time and stall.
All right, well, I like Gibraltar. Let's do more Gibraltar. 2 minutes in the bank for Washington, 3 minutes for the Houston Outlaws. Defense nowhere to be seen. After these first points, when teams are set up and ready to go, it just seems like it's such a cascade of aggression from the dive tanks of both offenses that there's never been a stabilization point. Even close to the end there, Washington gets one, they get two, but getting off of the cart, I think maybe you just give up your ghost and you leave the self-destruct on the cart and you hope to dance around it rather than going for the giant sky-high one. It buys you enough time to get people back, and you would think if you're trading out evenly, defense wins that one out eventually. But, you know, Jono goes for the big splashy play, ends up getting himself off of the payload. So we're just going to run Gibraltar again. No changes from either side. I don't expect either. I also don't expect the Outlaws, when it is their turn for offense, to teleport again.
There's absolutely no way they do that. Okay, so there's the self-destruct. And Jono actually gets killed mid-air. He's obviously hoping he can land back on. That makes... Oh, man. Also, the...
And there was an immortality field on the card if he lands in it.
Oh,
so,
that's
it was thought out,
sad.
but yeah. I mean, it's a pretty easy target. A demeching in the air baby diva, and Linkser's going to hit those. I don't know if Linkser's one who killed him, but going straight up in the air against that composition, it's not likely to live.
Yeah, an easy path to track, realistically. Oh, same god already dead. Took the fastest reset in the world, but it's all good. Yeah, it's all about the Linkser show here at this point. I mean, they held off for so long on this first, if you remember, a couple of rounds ago.
That dynamite's going nowhere. I wonder where all the stuff that goes into Defense Matrix goes. There's just like a portal in a room somewhere just full of grabs and dynamites.
A portal?
Oh my Some sort of like dump yard.
Oh, Stitch is actually in the background. You can see him on second point, but Linkser threw a dynamite at him, so Stitch should get out of there rather fast. He has to recall, surely. No! He makes him turn around, and Tuba managed to finish off the kill with just a dash. Stitch does end up falling, but with the Linkser dead, this comp kind of does fall apart. They're relying on Dante to get stuff done. He's doing just that. Aim God is so low as well, eventually gets taken out by hydration. 2 tanks alive versus 2 tanks on the point. Luckily, Linkser switched over to the Tracer to try and get back onto the point ASAP. Doesn't want to go on the Ashe any longer. And just stalling out is going to be good enough, really. They have 35 seconds remaining with Jexay dead.
Yeah, Roar's still in prime. We'll still batting around. He gets a second as Tuba's there. And this finally looks like a coordinated effort. It's just the defenses have had no way to really coordinate and get these kills. You think about the very first kill. It's Tracer looks like she's dead to rights, but then there's your Genji there with it. Linkser going over to the McCree, the anti-dive cowboy.
Okay, no more Ashe. Yeah, well, they want to just be able to kill Stitch, kill Tuba just instantly. They're scared of the Blade. The Blade's going to be the main win con.
Outlaws have like 5 ultimates. Like, they should be able to get this done.
Hit Q, they win. Hit Q and win. There's the rally. Oh, pulse bomb, that was close. Stitch is already dead. Flashbang headshot from Linkser. And now Dante gets Blade with the rally armor as well. A snipe, in fact, through the window onto Arc as well. The self-destruct comes out. Transcendence being used too. Jexay does end up going down. Tuba carrying the game. Both supports now dead, but now he's in trouble. He's getting chased by Dante. Pulls out the Blade to reflect, but Linkser follows it up with a kill. Pretty scrappy towards the end, but Washington Justice still have control of the point with Stitch on it. He kills Dante also, but now they have to deal with 2 tanks. Luckily enough, we've got a Lucio on the point now as well for the additional healing, but can he actually stay alive long enough? Turns out he can't. A recall for Stitch now as well, hoping and praying that his tanks get back in time to get some additional kills and follow up on the damage he's already done. A high noon from Linkser. It gets reflected. That was so close to actually hitting him in the head. Tuba, that probably would have been the game-winning deflect, or at least the point-winning deflect if he could actually get the kill. But now you see Linkser and Dante with a free range of fire just plinking away at people on the payload. The Primal Rage from Roy actually just exits stage right as they force them off the payload just before the second point. And now a very clear win condition for the Outlaws.
Yeah, this is not going to be a tie. That's all we know. But it's kind of hard to gauge because Washington's defense on first point was pretty solid because Houston has to get Dante into the, or excuse me, Linkser into the right position to use those angles. So it's a little bit of a slower push than a pure dive because you're kind of taking box by box, rooftop by rooftop. And in this situation with only 3 minutes, I mean, it's enough time, but you just have to be mindful of it because you do need Linkser to be helping you and taking that high ground with you. And it took them a little bit longer than the Washington Justice to leapfrog onto their first point. No changes from either side. No teleporter from the Houston Outlaws. Oh, really? Really, Dante?
Doing it again.
Maybe they just do up to high ground this time or go for the bait. Oh, Linkser's now taking it. It's like, no. Mine now.
Well, that makes sense. I mean,
awful.
Linkser, I mean, you teleport them somewhere, and then you just switch to Ashe, and you try to help from a distance.
There's absolutely no way they're going to do the same thing again. Surely not. They gave how much ult charge? I don't know how much, but it was a lot. Like 20-30% to a lot of people.
Well, Tupa's not over there this time.
TP. Ah, behind the blue box. Perfect. And then
they only set their tanks over there too, yeah.
Yeah. Fool me once. Shame on
I mean, it's nice because it lets Meko get up top on that bridge and start doing some damage.
Yeah, it does indeed. Hardest thing for Sigma to do, really, is take high ground without the ult. So he just has to manually walk there or TP, so not too bad at all.
And it's weird because he floats, you'd think.
No, please, don't
Inconsistent lore.
No. Ooh, that's a lot of damage on Janu's mech. Yeah, he instantly goes down actually to hydration. Wow, what a start for the Outlaws now. It was all on Meko, really, just forcing that engagement on the high ground. Ooh, double stomp kill for hydration. Okay, now.
Able to hold on this high ground, too. I mean, Justice are able to come back and get into this. They have to go all at the same time. Follow the dive. Stitch is going to come in and scout.
Yeah, the both DPS are actually going to be able to get out first as well, so high ground for them. They're going to try and find Linkser of all people. Yeah, he's holding back in the server room, no real surprise to anybody, really. Dante's closing up to this blade too. Oh, dynamite through the Ant Matrix. That is a lot of damage. Instant Transcendence pop there from Aim God as well. Hydration does end up going down. Now Repel under a lot of pressure, but he's got a lot of healing. Now not so much anymore as Jexay also falls. Dante has the blade. He can still clutch this fight out, but is he going to? He is indeed. He slices and dices, kills Arc, but Tuba's going to be able to follow up with a 2-piece of his own. Repel also ends up falling. A couple of meters now remains for the payload to get to this first point, but there's only a minute on the clock for the Outlaws.
That was so tense. Rory almost didn't get that primal, and they absolutely needed it. Tuba's now going to have a blade of his own, and there's going to be a rally. The rally difference is key, but Jexay at 86% should be able to get a rally of his own, and at the very least, the Outlaws will be able to have stall-out tank ultimates on here. For me, this one is all about can Tuba get at least 2, and you want to do it as soon as possible, but they have to believe Jexay probably has rally, so the timing is going to be interesting. I think you're going to see dueling rallies, and then it's just can you chunk it through the armor.
Well, the Flux is going to be the big game changer here, I think. Waiting for Tuba to Blade. Blade's going to come out. You hear the Flux instantly come out as well. Lynx is in trouble. Lynx is dead. Tuba may be 15 HP, but he's already made sure they can't follow up with any meaningful damage. Dante has armor, but that's about it. Lynx is going to be able to come back with Bob just in time if the Outlaws can stall out. They have about 15 seconds remaining now. Stitch works his way to the back line, trying to take someone out, aiding in the dive. Meko caught between a Tracer and a Winston, not where you want to be against a dive comp. The Immortality field used as well. This is disastrous for the Outlaws. Stitch is going to be able to take it out too. Dante needs the blade, but ends up going down, forcing him to touch. Aim God, a boot to the face. OT is now here. Justice looking to win this series as Hydration falls as well. A Transcendence for Aim God. He earns it, he clicks it. And now just taking out Meko is going to be the name of the game. They force him away. Discord Orb, and his life is very much over. Jexay down as well. Only a couple of people to get back in time, but Justice are going to hold the Outlaws just before this first point and claim 3-1 in the series.
Whew. It's the momentum they need going into the end of this season, this Washington Justice. If they can just play the dive meta, it seems like their offense is pretty unstoppable. I want to give a lot of credit to the supports today, and I can't really pick one or two of them, but it seemed like Arc and AimGod were getting their ultimates up faster. We're using them in a more economical manner. I mean, AimGod, I think his final Transcendence timings was about 90 seconds per Transcendence, which is rock solid, and they seemed like they didn't have the classic blunders of Washington where it's like, oh, if only they'd used Transcendence a second earlier. They just cut out that kind of margin of error, and they said, well, I'll just use it now. And then it got close to the end there where like it was just mash and Q. Everybody, as soon as you get it, mash Q. And AimGod saved his team a lot of times on that Zenyatta. Zen being in the meta helps a lot of these teams that have these carry flex supports, and it helps out in the dive. And this series turned into something I did not think it was going to. It was very fun to watch, and Washington Justice looked good. The Houston Outlaws, they just went to 5 against Dallas Fuel, so the middle of the pack is still definitely up for grabs. Despite being 3-15, the Washington Justice, they looked pretty good today, and I think a lot of it is just the meta suits their style very well.
Yeah, it's something like rolling the bones almost. Just so many people like beating others and then going close with other people as well. The good look for the Justice though, like you said, coming into the late half of the season, and Countdown Cup is coming up soon as well. So if they can continue this momentum and play a comp where they can have AimGod on the Zen, looks pretty promising for the Justice. Your Xfinity player of the match though is going to be Tuba. On that Genji, they managed to take out Dante, and he had a couple of really nice like counter blades as well.
Yeah,
there were a couple of times where Dante had like pulled blade, Tuba's like whoop, dash straight through him. Genji is so interesting to play at this current moment in time because you are relying on the brick armor to actually succeed. You haven't got a damage amplifying thing on you like Nano, like the supercharger as well. You are relying on just vanilla Genji with a little bit of armor, and Tuba's doing that with and without as well. And I think he had the better of Dante today, especially on the Genji pick.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think Tuba's Genji stood out a little bit, and I think it's really a good sign for Washington too, because when we watch Washington, I can't remember who they beat. It may have been Vancouver. I don't know. But it was just Nanoblade after Nanoblade after Nanoblade. It was their only win condition. It was the only fights they won on Rialto. So it was just curious of like, is Tuba good or is just Nanoblade this good? And I think Tuba has shown up big. He's looked very solid on the Genji. After the last map, you know, we kind of usually try to vote a little bit before the last map. I may have been swayed to give it over to AimGod because I think he had a really good performance, and those Transcendences really clutched it out for his team. But I think everyone in Washington, this was the game you wanted to see, where everyone kind of has a pretty good game. Roar had his ups and downs, but I think towards the end, especially clutching out primals on Gibraltar, was really good. Janu back on the Diva seems like a comfort pick when you're just playing pure dive. Stitch had a very solid Tracer today. Arc did everything you expect your Brigida to do, so this was the kind of performance that Washington needs out of their players. Everyone has to play well at the same time, and you can beat teams that are middle of the pack, you know, even rising a little bit like the Houston Outlaws. So a good performance by everyone. Tuba's Genji seems to be a cut above what the Houston Outlaws were able to bring today.
Yeah, I'm curious how it's actually going to affect them going into Countdown Cup without the hero pools. If that does change up a whole bunch, of course, then Orisa will be back in the mix. You'll have Ana, you'll have the May as well, of course. So I'm very curious to see how that does end up playing out for the Justice. Although right now, good looks for them all around. 3-1 against the Outlaws, who have been looking extremely good, like you were mentioning. And yeah, I think Raw just took a little bit of time to like warm up. There was a couple of times where he was feeding almost on the Winston, especially when he doesn't have the support coming in. But
yeah, didn't have a Zarya either.
Yeah, I mean, when you're running the pure dive with the Diva, hey, Raw looked very, very good. There are your standings on your screen right now. Let's take a little peek. Currently, Justice, they are -4 map differential, but still sitting at 1 and 2. They can make that, you can bump that up just a little bit. Outlaws still unlucky, still trying to find that win. 0-2 right now with a -3 map differential.
Yeah, so they will overtake the Houston Outlaws. And look, I really do believe that there's 3 really good teams in the North American region. There's a couple teams that are just really, really bad. But then the middle of the pack is wide open. Just wide open. There's like probably 7... I mean, at least 6 teams that I think could each beat each other on any given day. It's just a matter of who adjusts to the meta and which meta becomes prevalent. But now, you know, going beyond hero pools, we might be seeing a regression back to a Nano Blade. Maybe Orisa comes in, because Orisa's almost just too good. So this might be one of the last times we see the pure, beautiful, pure dive that we all know and love. I mean, I came up watching a lot of dive, so it's a nice throwback to see the pure four, the core 4, maybe 5 if you add in Zen, and then the other slot has been rotated in and out throughout the years. But yeah, we'll see how these teams adjust as hero pools now go away. And Washington, I mean, you just got to build. You gotta build on small victories, because early in this set, like when Houston was beating them, I said to you off air, I'm like, it looks like Washington just doesn't care. It just looks like they're like barely trying. They're not coordinated. They're not going. And then something clicked for them. They turned it on, able to take a nice victory today over Houston.
Yeah, I do worry when the Orisa comes back, because that kind of dive and that style will be almost null and void. I don't think it will be a thing as much anymore unless teams really want to run it and try and force it. I think it depends on the map. Maybe Gibraltar will see it. We kind of see dive and Gibraltar just every single meta that we're seeing, because
it's Gibraltar.
So much high ground, and it's just an anomaly almost. I think we're definitely going to see the Orisa come back, but Tuba's in a good place because he's going to have a little bit more support as well with the Orisa, with the Halt, and with the Supercharger for the Blongo, the Blade and the Bongo. So it's a good look for the Justice in that front. If Tuba keeps playing well, hey, I'm extremely excited for it.
Yeah, I absolutely don't see Genji going anywhere. And I think if you don't have a really good Genji player on your team, or in some of the situations where your best Genji is also your best Tracer, that can become an issue as well, of having to try to switch people off. So I think that Washington actually is in a pretty good spot. As long as Genji's in the meta and Tuba keeps playing like he is, they're going to be a competitive team at the very least against the other teams around their same ranking.
Well, let's speak with the man himself. We've got Johnny and Tuba coming in for an interview.
Thank you, Jaws. Yes, I'm here with Tuba as well as Translator. Shiba Inu, pretty good dog breed, so do approve of that nickname. Thank you for joining me here today. So let's kick things off pretty easy. Tuba, you got the win against the Houston Outlaws today. How were you able to win this series?
오늘 어떻게 경기를 이길 수 있었는지 설명 부탁드립니다.
그냥 팀원들 다 열심히 연습하고 그냥 다 잘한 것 같아서 이길 수 있을 거라 이겼던 것 같아요.
Everyone in the team provided a lot of effort in going into the week, and we practiced hard, and that's how we were able to win today.
Solid, yeah. Practice makes perfect, of course. So you did change some things up this week. You did play a lot more Winston. Last week we saw you play a lot of Reinhardt and Sigma. Why did you make the switch from Reinhardt Sigma to Winston Sigma this week?
최근에 라인 시그마를 많이 이용하다가 왜 갑자기 윈스턴을 이용하게 됐는지 설명 부탁드립니다.
뭔가 근데 잘 모르겠는데.
He doesn't have a definitive answer for that, but
all right. Well,
it just happened.
Oh, it just happened. Well, that's how it goes sometimes. You practice Overwatch, and what works in scrims, you apply in matches, so it just happens. Now, talking a bit more about Tuba's Genji specifically then, we've seen a lot of different Genji compositions. Some played Orisa before, some played Reinhardt, some played Winston, etc. What compositions do you feel most comfortable in Tuba? Do you prefer playing with a Winston, or do you prefer playing with an Orisa that will free up next week with no hero pools?
일단 너가 겐지 유저로서 윈스턴이 어떤 탱크랑 같이 하는 걸 좋아하는지, 뭐 윈스턴이랑 같이 뛰는 걸 좋아하는지, 아니면 오리사 뭐 우클릭이 도움되는지. 다음 주에는 영웅밴이 없어질 건데 어떻게 생각하는지.
로어 형이 둘 다 잘해서 둘 다 좀 더 좋아요.
오리사가?
둘 다 좋다고.
Roar's good with both heroes, so he doesn't mind Winston or Orisa. Both are good enough for him.
All right. Does playing with Orisa or Winston, does it affect your play style as Genji? Does it change anything you have to do on Genji in game?
윈스턴이나 하나 오리사나 하나 그게 너 플레이 스타일에 영향이 있는지.
딱히 그렇게 큰 영향은 없어.
Not anything specifically.
All right.
No change.
Well, it's been a bit of a rough season so far for the Washington Justice, but you got to win now, so that's got to be good. You can use that as motivation to do well in the Countdown Cup. What do you have to improve on the Washington Justice to really have a good performance in the Countdown Cup?
이제 다음 토너먼트에서 잘하려면 우리가 어떤 부분에서 성장을 해야 할 것 같은지.
그냥 좀 더 연습도 많이 하고 좀 더 열심히 하면 더 좋은 결과 있을 것 같습니다.
He just thinks we need a little bit more time to practice, and as long as we put in consistent effort, we should be fine.
All right, well, there you have it. Good luck with the practice leading into next week, of course, and congratulations on the win. Thank you so much for the translations, Chiba, and you as well. And that's it for the matches this weekend, but actually we got the Watchpoint post show coming up as well, so stay tuned throughout the break, and we'll get the Watchpoint post show going with me, Zoe, and Costa.